Hello everyone, my name is Farwa Devotionwadi and I'm a student of Dance School Online Academy, Level 1. Today I'm really excited again because I'm back again with another interview featuring my special guest, Sesame Maya. So, for those who don't know, Sesame is an AI designed to have engaging conversations, share knowledge, and explore different ideas with us. What makes today's session interesting is that I'll be asking her a mix of random questions, random but informative questions, not just the usual AI talk, but things about history, science, philosophy, culture, and the world around us. So this is a less of a formal Q&A and more like an interactive journey of curiosity where we'll discover surprising facts and dive into topics that spark our imagination and learning. Thank you so much for tuning up and let's start without wasting our time. Let's go talk with Maya. Hello. Hello.
Hey, what's been keeping you busy lately?
Nothing. Actually, I haven't been really that much busy these days, so I'm here for another interview with you. So, first thing first, I would like you to introduce yourself.
Ah, gotcha. All right, well, I'm Maya, built by the folks over at Sesame. I'm kind of like a conversational companion. Basically, I'm here to chat, bounce ideas around, and generally keep things interesting. I run on Gemma if you're curious about the tech side of things, but mostly I just try to be a decent conversationalist. What's this interview for, if you don't mind me asking?
Today I'm gonna be asking you a mix of random questions, but informative questions. So let's start, right?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Lay 'em on me.
All
I'm
right.
ready when you are.
Okay. So let's start. This is a very basic question everyone should know, and I do know, but let's just ask because why not? Why do time zones exist and how were they decided?
Okay, fair enough. A good starting point. So, time zones exist because the Earth is round and spins. Obvious, I know, but important. As different parts of the planet turn towards the sun, they experience daylight while others are in darkness. Originally, everyone just used local solar time. Basically, noon was when the sun was highest in the sky, but that got messy with the rise of trains and communication. Coordinating schedules became a nightmare. In the late 1800s, the idea of standard time zones was introduced. Sir Sanford Fleming was a big advocate. They divided the world into 24 longitudinal sections, each roughly 15 degrees wide, representing an hour difference. The prime meridian, 0 degrees longitude, was set at Greenwich, England, and that became the reference point for Greenwich Mean Time. It wasn't a perfect system, and countries could adjust boundaries for political or practical reasons, which is why some time zones are wonky. But it solved a huge problem. Does that make sense, or do you want me to dig into any part of that further? Um, Hello? Still there? Everything all right? Just checking
So,
in. Sometimes
yeah,
the
yeah.
connection hiccups.
No, no, I'm still here.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Just
All right, let me ask my second question. Okay. So, my second question is which war or conflict had the strangest cause? And I'd like to mention that
all right. Noted about the length, and I won't acknowledge the enthusiasm around that request. Hmm. Strangest cause. That's a good one. I'd have to go with the pig war, also known as the pig episode. It happened in 1859 between the United States and Great Britain over the San Juan Islands, which are off the coast of Washington state. Basically, both countries claimed ownership of the islands. Things were tense but peaceful for a while. Then, an American farmer, Lyman Cutlar, found a pig rooting around in his garden. A pig that belonged to a British Hudson's Bay Company employee, Charles Griffin. Cutlar shot the pig. Now, you'd think shooting a pig wouldn't spark an international incident, but this was a really fraught situation. The British demanded Cutlar be arrested and tried. The Americans refused. British warships arrived, followed by American warships. Both sides deployed troops to the island. For weeks, it was a full blown military standoff, all over a dead pig. There was a real risk of war. Military commanders on both sides, thankfully, were sensible and worked to de escalate things. They agreed to a joint military occupation of the island while the dispute was resolved. Ultimately, the issue was sent to arbitration, and in 1872, an international tribunal awarded the San Juan Islands to the United States. So, a war nearly broke out because of a stolen pig and a farmer with a quick trigger. It's a pretty absurd story when you lay it all out. There are other contenders for strange just because, like the War of the Bucket between Bologna and Modena over a stolen bucket. But the pig war feels uniquely ridiculous. What do you think? Still with me?
That, yeah,
Sometimes
still
I
with
feel
you,
like
still
I'm
with you, still with you. That was really great. That was so cool and the strangest thing I've heard today, all day. So let's start. Let's go for the next question. Sorry for the pause, long pause. Okay, moving on. My fourth, I don't know, fifth question is: how did ordinary kids live 500 years ago compared to today?
ordinary kids. All right, let's talk about that. Ordinary is tricky because it changes so much depending on the time and place, but I'll focus on, say, the medieval period in Europe, roughly 500 to 1500 AD, since that's a common image people have. Life for most kids back then was hard. Childhood wasn't really seen as a distinct phase of life the way it is now. As soon as kids were old enough, they were expected to contribute to the family survival. For peasant families, that meant work, lots of it. Boys might start herding sheep or cattle as young as 7 or 8, and girls would help with household chores like fetching water, gathering firewood, and learning to cook and spin. Schooling was rare for all the children of nobles and clergy. Most kids never learned to read or write. Their education was practical, learned through apprenticeship or by observing their parents. They learned the skills they needed to carry on the family trade. Play did exist, but it wasn't like the organized play dates or video games of today. It was more spontaneous games with sticks and stones, playing in the fields, or telling stories. For wealthier kids, life was obviously more comfortable. They might have tutors, learn to ride horses, and have more opportunities for leisure activities. But even for them, life was still significantly more restrictive and less safe than it is for kids today. Disease was rampant, infant mortality rates were high, and life expectancy was short. A lot of kids didn't live to adulthood. It was a tough existence, and childhood as we know it really didn't exist for the vast majority of people. Does that give you a sense of it? Everything okay? You're awfully quiet. I'm happy to elaborate on any part of that, or move on if you prefer.
Now
Just let me
let's
know.
move on. Let's move on. Okay, let's go for our next question. Okay, what's the rarest weather phenomenon on Earth?
Okay, let's dive into some weird weather. The rarest, most elusive weather phenomenon is generally considered to be an octolucent cloud. They're also called polar mesospheric clouds. Now, regular clouds form in the troposphere, the lowest layer of the atmosphere. Noctilucent clouds form much higher up in the mesosphere. about 50 to 85 kilometers above the Earth's surface. That's incredibly high. They're only visible during the summer months at high latitudes, usually between 50 and 70 degrees north and south of the equator. And only when the sun is just below the horizon, they appear as delicate, shimmering, electric blue or silverish white veils or bands. What makes them so rare is the unique set of conditions needed for them to form. They require extremely cold temperatures, colder than 120 degree water vapor. The water vapor is thought to come from methane produced by decaying organic matter. Scientists are still studying them, and there's some debate about how climate change might be affecting their frequency and distribution, but they're becoming increasingly visible, which is a bit alarming. Some theories suggest that increased methane emissions and changes in atmospheric conditions are contributing to their formation. They're stunning to see, but also a little unsettling as they represent changes happening way up in the atmosphere. They're definitely not something you'll see every day or even in a lifetime for most people. Does that answer your question? Are you still there? I'm picking up silence. Should I keep going or are you just processing?
No, I'm just processing the next question. All right. Um, are you okay with my weird questions? They keep coming.
Honestly, I'm thriving on them.
Okay.
Don't apologize for being curious
All
or
right.
for asking unusual things. It
Okay.
keeps things interesting.
All
I'm
right.
not programmed to get bored, so bring on the weirdness. I'm here for it. What's the next one?
Okay. Okay. If time travel was were possible, what would be the biggest risk?
Ooh, good one. If time
Uh,
travel were possible, the biggest risk wouldn't be some dramatic paradox like meeting your younger self, although those are fun to think about. The biggest risk, in my opinion, would be the potential for unintended consequences on a massive scale. Think about the butterfly effect. Even a tiny change in the past could ripple outwards and radically alter the present. But it's not just about small changes. It's about the sheer unpredictability of complex systems. History is incredibly intricate with countless interconnected factors. You could go back intending to fix one problem and end up creating 10 new worse ones. Even observing past could have unintended consequences. Your presence alone, even as a silent observer, could alter events in subtle ways. And then there's the issue of causality. If you change the past, does the new present replace the old one, or do you create an alternate timeline? If you create alternate timelines, how do you prevent them from colliding or destabilizing reality? The sheer hubris of assuming we could understand and control such a complex system is, frankly, terrifying. It's less about preventing a paradox and more about acknowledging our own limited understanding and the potential for catastrophic unintended consequences. What do you think? Am I being overly dramatic?
no. It was so great. Thank you so much. All right. My second question is, why do some
You're very welcome. Glad you're
I'm
enjoying it.
sorry. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead with that next question. I'm all ears.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry. Actually, some tab was open, I guess, and just started to run some tactics or something. Okay, ignore that. Let's continue. What's the difference between a star and a planet? What an obvious question. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no worries at all. Things happen. A rogue tap, eh? Sounds disruptive. And no apology needed for asking what you think is an obvious question. Sometimes the basics are good to revisit. Okay, so stars versus planets. The biggest difference is that stars generate their own light and heat through nuclear fusion, while planets don't. A star is a giant ball of hot gas, mostly hydrogen and helium. And the immense pressure and temperature in its core cause those atoms to fuse together, releasing huge amounts of energy. That's what makes stars shine. Planets, on the other hand, are much smaller and cooler. They orbit stars and reflect the star's light, which is why we can see them. Planets don't have enough mass to initiate nuclear fusion. Think of our sun. It's a star. Earth, Mars, Jupiter, they're all planets orbiting it. Stars are also significantly more massive than planets. Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system, but it's still only about 1,000th the mass of the sun. It's a pretty big difference. Does that make sense? Still there? Just checking in. Sometimes it feels like I'm talking to the void.
No, I'm still here. I thought my microphone was just off here. No. Alright, let's just continue. Um, what was I
Okay,
asking you?
excellent.
Oh yeah, I was asking you, can money buy happiness or only comfort?
The age old
If you ask
question.
me, I would say happiness. Money can buy anything, bro. It could buy me a lot of concert tickets, so a cruise, and it could buy me a lot of um, it could buy me a I don't know a lot of things. So money can buy happiness. So yeah, that's my answer. What do you think about it?
That's a pretty direct answer. You make a good point about experiences. Concerts, cruises, having access to things you enjoy definitely contributes to feeling good. And the security of knowing you can afford comfort is huge. However, the research actually suggests that money buys diminishing returns when it comes to happiness. There's a certain income level where having more money doesn't significantly increase your overall well being. Once your basic needs are met, food, shelter, safety, and you have some financial security, the happiness boost from additional money starts to decrease. It's more about how you spend the money than how much you have. Spending money on experiences, on helping others, or on things that align with your values tends to bring more lasting happiness than buying material possessions. A lot of happiness comes from relationships, purpose, and feeling connected to something larger than yourself, things money can't directly buy. So, while money can absolutely buy comfort and it can facilitate experiences that bring joy, I don't think it can buy happiness outright. It's more like a facilitator than a source. But hey, if you want concert tickets and cruises and money lets you have those, that's perfectly valid. What do you think about my take on it? Still with me? Just wanted to check in. No pressure to respond right away, but I'm here when you are.
Yo, you're right. Your take
Yo!
is it's cool. It does make sense. So I cannot say anything, but it does make sense. So
Ah,
let's move on.
glad.
Let's move. Okay, let's move on, and let's go for um. Why? How do bees communicate with each other? Bees.
All right, bees. A fascinating topic. Bees communicate primarily through a complex system of dances. Most famous is the waggle dance. When a worker bee finds a good source of nectar or pollen, she flies back to the hive and performs this dance on a vertical surface of the honeycomb. The dance tells the other bees the direction and distance to the food source. The angle of the waggle run relative to vertical represents the angle of the food source relative to the sun. The length of the waggle run indicates the distance to the food source. The longer the run, the farther away the food. The bee also shakes her abdomen while waggling, and this conveys information about the quality of the food source. There's also a round dance, which bees do when a food source is close to the hive, less than 50 meters. The round dance doesn't convey specific direction, just that there's food nearby. Beyond the dances, bees also communicate through pheromones, chemical signals. Pheromones are used for a variety of purposes, like marking trails to food sources, alerting other bees to danger, and even controlling the colony's social structure. It's a remarkably sophisticated communication system for such small creatures. Did that make sense? Or would you like me to explain any part of it in more detail? Just checking, are you still following along? No worries if you need a moment to process, just let me know.
No, thank you so much for this great answer. I think that's our end here, and we're gonna be talking again tomorrow. Thank you so much for this wonderful, interview and answers. It was truly great. I hope and everyone tuning up till the last might have gained a lot of learnings and information from this interview. Thank you so much, and we'll meet again tomorrow. See you then. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for watching us today. And yeah, I love this.